What's up, everybody? This is Chris Cavana, and you are listening to The Slant. Week 3 is come and gone, and it was a great week, but there's no better way to send off a great week than to talk about it, so let's do just that. But first, let's cover the breaking news of the week. All the hopes that the 49ers fans had for Jimmy Garoppolo taking them to the playoffs are over for this season, as he tore his ACL on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs. It came on a play where Garoppolo was scrambling, and it looked like initially he was going to go out of bounds, but quickly changed his mind and decided to cut it upfield, and he turned his leg the wrong way, and that was the end of that. There were claims that Chiefs cornerback Steven Nelson was to blame for this ACL tear, as he pushed Garoppolo out of bounds on that play, but it was later determined that the ACL tear came before the push. Another victim of the ACL tear was William Hayes, the defensive end for the Miami Dolphins. He tore his ACL as he was trying to sack Derek Carr without getting a roughing the passer penalty, which is ridiculous in the first place because they have called that way too many times on way too many silly occasions where it really was not roughing the passer. But besides the point, he tore his ACL trying to make it all pretty and not get a penalty, and it ended up costing him his entire season. In other news, Vikings defensive end Everson Griffin has been battling a mental health issue and was not present in the game against the Bills on Sunday. The team has told him he's not allowed to come back till he figures this stuff out because they've been saying that he's been quote-unquote not himself lately the last few weeks. Griffin also voluntarily agreed to check into a hospital. He will not be playing against the Los Angeles Rams. Saints cornerback Patrick Robinson has been placed on IR after breaking his ankle against the Falcons. Packers cornerback Devon House was also placed on IR with a shoulder injury. The Packers signed Brashad Breeland, former Redskins cornerback, to replace him. And to further add to that list, the Buccaneers placed their safety Chris Conte on IR as well, with a knee injury. Rams cornerback Aqib Talib is having surgery on his ankle and has no timetable for return after injuring it against the Chargers on Sunday. And the other Rams starting cornerback Marcus Peters is day-to-day with a calf injury that he suffered against the Chargers as well. The Tennessee Titans signed quarterback Austin Davis after Blaine Gabbert suffered a concussion. The Carolina Panthers traded a conditional draft pick for Buffalo Bills reserve tackle Marshall Newhouse. Browns rookie quarterback Baker Mayfield will get his first start on Sunday against the Oakland Raiders. And Josh Rosen, the rookie quarterback for the Cardinals, will also get his first start on Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach Dirk Koetter knows who he's going to start next Sunday at quarterback, but he's not telling us. Jameis Winston is officially eligible to play again after his 3-week suspension. Of course, I'm sure the decision would have been much easier for Dirk Koetter if Ryan Fitzpatrick didn't throw 3 interceptions on Monday night against the Steelers. So, having Jameis back now, it makes for a more interesting decision. And last but not least, the Steelers have announced they are open to trading All-Pro running back Le'Veon Bell. Now let's move on to the recap of Week 3. So let's start off with the Browns and their historic win. They get their first win in 635 days. God, that was way too long of a wait. But it's all thanks to their future franchise quarterback, Baker Mayfield. That's right. I think he's the future. And anyone who watched him on Thursday night would agree with me. The way he played was just phenomenal. He was quick, he was decisive, and he was accurate. That was the difference between him and Tyrod Taylor, and that was the difference between a win and a loss. Hugh Jackson made the obvious call on Monday that Baker Mayfield would be the starter going forward, and I think the Browns are going to be much better because of it. I think he is going to elevate the team. I think they're all going to play better like they did on Thursday night when he came in, because they're going to want to play for him. They're going to want to play for this guy because he is a motivator and he is a fighter. And I'm excited to see what the Browns do with him. And don't just take my word for it. Go back and look at the game. When he came in, the offensive line played better. The receivers were dropping less passes. The defense was more aggressive. And dear God, did the mood of the whole stadium change when Baker Mayfield came out. When Tyrod was in there, the fans were booing him. They were chanting for Baker to come out. And when Baker came out, the whole place went crazy. That whole game just turned around when Baker Mayfield came in. As for the Jets, it just wasn't your night. Cleveland seemed like they were destined to win this game once Baker started playing. This one was definitely a hard pill to swallow for the Jets, considering they led 14-3 at the half and they just lost to a team that hadn't won in over 600 days. But I think they'll bounce back, and I think Sam Darnold will play much better next week. And now it's time for the And this week, I gotta hand it to the Buffalo Bills for going into Minnesota and just kicking ass from the beginning. They score on their first drive of the game, and then they force and recover a fumble on their first defensive drive of the game. Bills quarterback Josh Allen showed on Sunday why he was taken 7th overall in the NFL draft. He lit up a very talented Vikings defense, even though they were missing Everson Griffin. Still, they have tons of playmakers on that defense, and he just blasted his way right through them. 2 rushing touchdowns and a touchdown pass. That's pretty good. And more importantly, no interceptions. Pretty sure Nathan Peterman can't say that. If Peterman played, they would have lost, and they probably would have lost big time like I was predicting in the first place. Hell, if Peterman played, my prediction would have looked generous compared to what the actual score would have been. But at the end of the day, the Bills won. Josh Allen looked good. Then the future, I'm not going to say it's bright, but it's not as dim or dark as it used to be in Buffalo. But hey, at least they don't have to do as much work as Minnesota does after this game. I mean, yikes. Now, I could understand them not doing well with Dalvin Cook being out and Everson Griffin being out. Cook has a huge role on the offense, and Everson Griffin is just a nightmare on defense. So I get it. It's not easy to win sometimes when 2 of your best players are gone. But anyone who knows Vikings head coach Mike Zimmer will tell you that he is going to be the first person not to make excuses for this loss. He's going to blame it on himself. He's going to blame it on the players not putting in enough effort in the game. And overall, it was just a bad effort on their part. And I would agree with them. I don't think they were prepared for this game. I think they had a little bit of overconfidence going against a winless Bills team, and it came to bite them in the butt. Kirk Cousins turned the ball over 3 times. The running game could not get going at all. And the defense they looked like they didn't exist. It was bad. It was just a bad performance overall by the Vikings. For all that offseason talk by the NFL media and all the experts, quote unquote, saying that Minnesota was going to be an NFC championship worthy team, well, they're still a good team and they can go to the Super Bowl, I think, but they're going to have to step it up. This is not acceptable. And now we have the highest scoring affair of week 3 between the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta. There was a total of 80 points scored in this game. 80. That's pretty insane. But at the end of the day, the Saints came out on top in overtime. Thank goodness someone came out on top because I was afraid of another tie. And 3 ties in 3 weeks is just friggin' crazy. Thank God we didn't have any of those this week. They had to settle in overtime, which is why I was so afraid of a tie. But New Orleans went straight down the field on the first drive of overtime, and Drew Brees actually jumped over the pile and got his second rushing touchdown of the game. That's right, his second rushing touchdown. That's crazy. But in the end, the Saints won on the road against a tough division rival in Atlanta, and that's a big win for them. That bodes well for them going forward. That puts them in a tie for first place with Carolina and Tampa, even though Tampa technically has a half-game lead over them because Tampa beat them earlier in the season. And Tampa beat them in New Orleans, which is huge for Tampa. But I'm getting away from the point here. This was honestly anybody's game, and Atlanta was even driving down the field with less than a minute to go, trying to end the game before overtime by kicking a field goal. But unfortunately for them, there was a 3rd down play where A.J. Klein was able to blitz Matt Ryan and force a quick throw that led to an incompletion, which forced them to punt and force overtime. And, of course, Matt Ryan never got the ball again in that game. Atlanta did look good, though. They had a lot of offense, obviously. If you're putting up 37 points, of course you're going to have a lot of offense. But they got the ball out in many different ways. Obviously, Matt Ryan got the ball out to his playmakers, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley and Mohamed Sanu. But he also got the ball out in other ways. He dumped it off to that rookie running back I was mentioning last week, Ito Smith, who will probably end up being the second-string running back next year when Tevin Coleman leaves for free agency. But he was looking good. The way they were able to use him in the passing game was pretty ingenious, if you ask me. Overall, both offenses look great, and both defenses need a lot of work. And now for another game that surprised me, to say the least, the Packers and the Redskins. And the Redskins offense, man, they really got it in gear on Sunday. They really gave it to the Packers defense. And the Packers offense, well, I guess we're kind of starting to see the impact of Aaron Rodgers' injury and how that's affecting his mobility and his ability to throw, too. I think overall the Redskins defense was just balling out in general, but there is room for concern if you're a Packers fan. Of course, what doesn't help is Clay Matthews getting another ridiculous roughing the passer call. In week 1 when he got it, that was kind of understandable. Week 2, I mean, come on, really? And then week 3, this is just crazy. These refs need to get it together and figure out what roughing the passer really is, because it's starting to affect the game quite a bit. And now Colts and Eagles. And I must say, Carson Wentz looked really good on Sunday in his return. I think, it's going to take some time for him to fully come back from this ACL, but he looked pretty solid on Sunday, and he made some big-time plays. Of course, I'll give the Colts credit. They were making this a close game, and I didn't think it was going to be this close of a game. I figured Luck would play well, but eventually he would get overwhelmed by this Eagles defense. But in the end, the Colts defense was really surprised me. They really stepped up big time and made some big plays and some big stops in that game. I did find it strange, however, that the Colts took out Andrew Luck and put in Jacoby Brissett as the QB for the Hail Mary play at the end of the game. And I was listening to NFL radio, and I guess it kind of makes sense the way they explained it. They were saying that Jacoby Brissett was more athletic, and on plays like a Hail Mary, you need a guy who's athletic and can buy time so that the receivers can get far enough down the field where when the quarterback throws it, they're in the end zone. And people were saying, oh, is that Andrew Luck's arm? Is that the issue? And I kind of thought that too at first, but honestly, that's a pretty good explanation with the whole athleticism argument and buying time. And at the same time, it's a Hail Mary play that's got a very low chance of being successful. So if you think about it, why waste Andrew Luck's arm on a play like that? Up next, the Raiders and the Dolphins. And I must say, the Raiders came out firing in that game. At first, they were kicking some tail, but as usual, they can't hold on to a lead, and so they blow it. And the Dolphins come back and win the game. And the Dolphins are 3-0, and the Raiders are 0-3, and that's just how the NFL is going right now. At the end of the day, I'm kind of not surprised the Dolphins won. I mean, I picked them to win last week, so yeah, I was kind of expecting that, but it's just, I don't know, something about Miami's different. Like, Tannehill's got some decent weapons, but it's not like he has game-breaking weapons. And I think that's because Tannehill himself is turning that offense into a dangerous offense. I think Tannehill's having a little bit of a Peyton Manning effect on his team right now. He's making the guys around him better, and I think part of that also has to do with Adam Gase. I believe that he is truly a quarterback whisperer. I think he is an offensive guru who knows how to get any kind of offensive system going. And I kind of had a feeling once Tannehill came back from his injury that he was going to be red hot all over again like he was in 2016. And Adam Gase loves Tannehill. He said he is his guy, and he has been proving it because Tannehill's been playing great, and Gase seems to love that guy. I think Adam Gase is the best thing that happened to Ryan Tannehill's career thus far. And Oakland, on the other hand, John Gruden is not looking like the guy so far. I know it's only been 3 weeks, but it's 3 losses in 3 weeks. That's always a tough start. But then again, it's his first time back at coaching in, 20 years? So let's give it time. Let's let those 2 draft picks per year for the next 2 years pan out for Oakland, with that whole Khalil Mack trade. Let's see where it goes. But for right now, they got to learn how to close out games, and they got to get some better defense. It's almost like they're missing a franchise pass rusher. I wonder who that would be. I wonder who they could get to make that happen. No, but seriously, I get why they traded him. It was a business decision. Plus, he wasn't showing up for camp, and there was just a lot going into it. But they are going to need to replace him eventually, or John Gruden will not be there come 2 or 3 years. Okay, Ravens-Broncos. I'm going to be brief on this one because there's really not too much to say. This is kind of what I was expecting. Ravens did what they had to do on offense. They put up a good amount of points against a pretty good Broncos defense. And Case Keenum looked solid, but not amazing. And on the road against that Baltimore defense was just a little tough for him. So I can kind of see how he would struggle in this game. And that's how the Ravens really won. It was a good running game and a good passing game. That's how offense works. Well, gee, you think? No, but seriously, this was a very solid win by a very solid Ravens team right now. Okay, next up, one of my favorite matchups of the weekend, actually. It was a very entertaining game. Was the Panthers and the Bengals. And Carolina's offense, I figured they were going to kind of get it going. I mean, they played pretty well against Atlanta in week 2, but I didn't think they would get it going this much against a top 10 defense of the Bengals. But let's start out with the most underrated performer of the entire week, Christian McCaffrey. 184 rushing yards. I mean, that's just crazy considering he's going against a really good Bengals front and his offensive line has some backups in there. By the way, credit to them. They really stepped it up on Sunday. They've really filled in well for their starters. And Ryan Clark at 32 years old. Taylor Moton, the second-year tackle who's been moved from left to right so many times that I can't even keep count anymore. And Tyler Larson, who is really a center, but can play guard, who did a fantastic job. Greg Van Roten, who was not supposed to be the starter at left guard, but is killing it right now. And, of course, the durable veteran in Ryan Khalil at center. And, of course, when you get a run game like that with McCaffrey going, who was incredible, by the way. I've never seen a performance like that from him. And then you got Cam Newton, who's red hot and completing nearly 70% of his passes every game. You got a deadly offense. The only issue they have right now is the receivers keep dropping. And, of course, that was more earlier in the game than later in the game. But Torrey Smith and Devin Funchess, I'm calling you two out because, honestly, you're making a great quarterback in Cam Newton look bad right now. Not all the time, but sometimes. And, really, he deserves better than that. So, come on, guys, step it up. Now, Carolina's defense looked a little shaky at the start of the game, but they started to hold it down in the second half and only give up 7 points, which is kind of what I was predicting, that Andy Dalton and the offense would get off to a great start in the first half, and then in the second half they'd start to slow down and start to get bogged down by whatever defense they're playing against, and that was the case. Dante Jackson had 2 interceptions, F.A. Obata had a sack and a interception that was, well, I mean, it was tipped to him, so that's kind of, not really him more than just the defense, but still, great performance by him. And of course, Luke Kuechly got the interception on the Hail Mary. That doesn't really count, but it's still pretty cool. Overall, I think once Thomas Davis comes back from suspension, which should be in week 5, but no, it has to be in week 6 because the friggin' bye week has to be this week. So that's kind of unfair for Panthers fans who are waiting for him to come back. But once he comes back for the defense, and once they figure out an option at safety, with Denoris Cersei being hurt, and they start to figure out their offense more and get a couple guys back from injury on the offensive line and get Greg Olsen back, oh my God, this team could be very, very dangerous. I'm serious. Watch out, the rest of the NFC. This is a dangerous team again. And Norv Turner, the offensive mastermind, is already doing way better than Mike Shula ever did. Serious props to him. And Cam Newton's playing like his old MVP self again, so be ready. And as for the Bengals, don't be discouraged. This was a tough loss, but I think you guys will bounce back. The AFC North is still pretty wide open, and I think the Bengals have a serious chance at making a run for the title because their offense is dangerous and their defense is dangerous, and I think they're just going to get better as the season goes on. As long as Andy Dalton stays healthy, that's key, and as long as their offensive line for the most part stays healthy. Well, heck, really, it's always about injuries, but seriously, if they stay healthy, they're going to be a very dangerous team, and they could, and I'd say probably would, win a playoff game this year if they make it. And now to recap a game between 2 of the most disappointing teams in the league this year thus far, as the New York Giants went to face the Houston Texans in Houston. And I just got to say, that Houston offensive line, oh God, it's just terrible. I mean, poor Deshaun Watson, the guy just has no time to do anything back there. I mean, they are just awful. I mean, just god-awful. Like, Giants fans, I know you think you got a bad line, and you do, but when you look at Houston's and compare it to yours, your situation ain't so bad. And surprisingly, the offense of the Giants finally got it together against a great Houston defense, which is what's really baffling about this. Why? Why against Houston? Why not against, Dallas or against Jacksonville? Okay, well, I mean, those are both pretty solid defenses. But why against Houston? Why, when I'm picking against you, do you win? Why? No, but obviously this was a huge win for the Giants to avoid going 0-3. Houston, not looking so good right now, going 0-3. But I will give some credit to J.J. Watt, That man is back, and he is kicking some ass. 3 sacks against Eli Manning on Sunday, and a strip sack being one of them. And he also had some nice tackles for loss. So, yeah, that man's back. He's ready to roll. Now, if we can just get the rest of the team to get on board, that would be great. But for now, Houston, not looking so good. And now, a matchup between the Titans and the Jags. And I guess it really doesn't friggin' matter what happens. For some reason, the Titans just seem to have the Jags number. And I just don't get why. Why? They have... I don't even know how to explain this game. I mean, Bortles didn't turn the ball over. He was smart with the ball and everything, but it just... What? What? This game just doesn't make any sense. I mean, yeah, Bortles didn't look great. I mean, he had a pretty mediocre day, so I guess, he only plays good against good teams, which I guess isn't a bad thing, but it'd be great if he could just play good against, all teams. But for some reason, the Titans just always have the Jags number, whether it's on the road, at home, whether they're a great team or a bad team. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. I mean, Mariota was hardly even able to play. I mean, I don't understand at all. And I don't get it. I mean, obviously, we got to give some credit to the Titans defense, but Blake, what's happening here, man? I mean, I get that not having Leonard Fournette, isn't going to help with your offense, but I mean, the guy put up 31 points against New England without him. So what's the deal here? I mean, really? I mean, is Tennessee's defense really that good, or is Bortles just that inconsistent? I mean, give credit to the Titans defense. I mean, obviously they played a great game, but just I don't understand at all. This game is so weird. And now to recap the Chiefs' first home game of the season against the San Francisco 49ers. And I got to say, Patrick Mahomes is unbelievable. 13 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. The guy is literally just killing it right now. And if he keeps up this pace, he'll win the MVP. Andy Reid will win Coach of the Year. And the Chiefs will probably go to the Super Bowl. It's just incredible what they're doing right now. And I don't care if it's only 3 weeks into the season. Obviously, nothing's going to change. Nothing will change in the next 14 weeks. Nothing at all. Nothing's going to change. Nothing. But seriously, if the Chiefs keep up this pace, they will be looking at a possible Super Bowl bound season. But again, it's a long season and a lot can happen between now and then. So let's not go too crazy just yet. And on the other side, the Niners, well, their season's pretty much over. Jimmy Garoppolo, torn ACL after the season. And unfortunately for them, that was really the biggest boon for them. They were hoping that he would be healthy and that he would carry them to the playoffs for the first time in a while. But unfortunately for them, he's gone. That's it. It's over. Niners fans, hate to say it, but you're probably not going to win more than like 4 games this year now. C.J. Beathard is not a franchise guy. I hate to say it, but he's not going to get it done. So just hope to suck and get a great draft pick and build around it. And Garoppolo will come back next year, and you guys will be a lot better. All right, and now for the Battle of L.A. The winner is the Rams. The Rams win for the next 4 years. To the surprise of some, but not many, the Rams won this game. I was not one of the people that was surprised by this. I figured they were a much more well-rounded team. And the Chargers are a good team, but they still got some work to do. And they also didn't have Joey Bosa in this game, which hurts them a little bit on defense. But if there's one thing they could have changed in that game that could have completely turned everything around, when Derwin James picked off Jared Goff in the end zone, he decided, I'm going to go and run it back. And he runs it out to the 1-yard line. Okay, great. Thanks a lot, genius. You just gave up 19 yards of field position. And then, obviously, since we're at the frickin' 1, the Chargers couldn't get a first down at all and couldn't even get more than like 2 yards. So they had to punt from their own end zone. And, of course, what happens? The punt gets blocked and the defense lands on it for a touchdown. So that's a touchdown for the Rams. And the punter gets hurt. He comes back eventually, but really? I mean, jeez. That's just so stupid. I mean, you could have had the ball at the 20-yard line, had a great drive, and tied the game, basically. I mean, I can't remember if it was exactly 7 points down or something, but all I know is they weren't far behind. They could have easily caught up if they just started that drive at the 20-yard line and scored. But no, they had to start at the 1 because the freaking rookie decided that he was going to run it out. I mean, just really, really. Come on, Derwin. You're better than this. At least, I don't know. I would think you would be. You were a pro in college. I mean, that always translates, right, guys? No, but seriously, it was a good win for the Rams. And even though they lost Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib in that game, I still think they're a serious threat in the NFC, even with backup cornerbacks. Okay, next on our ledger, we have the Dallas Cowboys going to visit the Seattle Seahawks. And this game honestly did not surprise me. Seattle's not a very good team offensively, but they did enough against a pretty good Dallas defense to win the game. Of course, they had a couple roughing the passer calls go their way, but the Dallas offense, they just could not get anything going. They were just stagnant, and I was not impressed at all. And honestly, that Seattle defense is good. It's not nearly what it used to be, though. So, obviously, they're going to have a good day against a bad offense, but I don't think the future is very bright for either of these teams this season. They just don't look very good, either one of them. And, of course, when you got two bad teams going against each other, one of them is going to win, but this is a win I would not really hang my hat too high on if I was Seattle. And now for the beginning of the Josh Rosen era as the Chicago Bears went to face the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. And really, the start of the era is really going to start next week because Rosen only played like 10 snaps. So we really didn't get much of a sampling size with him just yet. But obviously, Sam Bradford, he's proving he's really not worth the money that people pay him anymore, since he had 3 crucial turnovers in the second half against the Bears. And obviously, Steve Wilkes had enough. Screw this guy. We're overpaying him. It's a 1-year deal. I think Josh is ready. Let's put him out there. And for the most part, from what I saw from Rosen on a very limited sample, I thought he was pretty good. I think he made some really good throws. Honestly, I don't really know what to expect from him just yet, but we will see when he plays Seattle this weekend. But let's talk about the Bears for a second and how they were able to shut out the Cardinals in the second half. I swear, that defense is carrying the crap out of the Bears' whole team right now. Honestly, the offense is They're still kind of figuring things out. I mean, Trubisky's doing enough to win, but that's literally it right now. Him and the offense are just doing enough to win. And I guess that's really all they need right now, because that defense is just a nightmare. They are just harassing the quarterback, sacking him, hitting him a lot, forcing bad throws, picking him off. I mean, they're just a nasty unit. I said it before, and I'll say it again. This is the new monsters of the Midway. These guys are just unbelievable. And now for a recap of Sunday Night Football between the New England Patriots and the Detroit Lions. And some people wanted to say I was crazy for not picking the Patriots in this game. But if you think about it, he was the old defensive coordinator there for 13 years. So who's going to know that offense that Tom Brady's running better than him? Nobody. Nobody except the people who are obviously coordinating for him and part of that team now. But that's what I saw. I saw an old coordinator ready to go beat his old boss's butt. And he did. That's exactly what he did. He went in there and he out-schemed him, and his players outplayed the Patriots. And to that, I say kudos, Matt Patricia. Wonderful job. Meanwhile, everyone's like, oh my God, New England, they're done. No, this is what happens just about every year. The sky's not falling. They're going to come back. They're going to probably be in the championship game again this year. So we'll see what happens, but I wouldn't doubt the Patriots go on some massive winning streak. And last but not least, the showing of both Ryan Fitzmagic and Ryan Fitztragic as the Tampa Bay Bucks hosted the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football. But honestly, it's kind of sad. It was a lot of bad luck for the Bucks in that game, because all 3 of Ryan Fitzpatrick's interceptions really weren't his fault. One, the pass itself was tipped, so obviously he has no control over that. One of them, Mike Evans ran his route wrong or gave up on it or something. It was really weird. It was the one where he overthrew the ball and it was intercepted. That was just Mike Evans not running his route right. And then the one that ended up being a pick 6, Fitzpatrick got hit in the arm as he was throwing it. So obviously it went off course, and Bud Dupree was able to walk in with a touchdown. And then in the second half, he threw for 3 touchdowns and nearly won him the game. That's truly the showing of 2 different Ryan Fitzpatricks in one game. But I gotta say, if you're a Steelers fan, you should not rest on your laurels with this win because you barely won. You almost blew it. You're lucky you got a first down to end the game because Fitzpatrick was red hot and you guys were starting to give up a lot of points. And in the second half, the Steelers didn't score any points. That was it. There were 0 points on offense. The only reason they won was because they got such a big lead. And even then, you only won by 3. I mean, yikes. That's just bad football. That's just bad game management, too. I mean, you got to get first downs and try to get some points here to ice the game. But seriously, this 3-point win, not impressive. And it bodes badly for the Steelers going forward. So yeah, it seems like I did pretty good again in week 3 with a 10-6 total on my predictions this week. And now I'm at 29, 17, and 2. So overall, not a bad start to the season. But yeah, guys, I've had a pretty crazy week. And due to time constraints, I'm going to have to cut this episode short and just give you my picks real quickly. I apologize. There's a lot going on right now. And unfortunately, I just don't have time to record a full hour. So without further ado, here are my picks for the week. Rams over Vikings, Jaguars over Jets, Patriots over Dolphins, Eagles over Titans, Colts over Texans, Packers over Bills, Lions over Cowboys, Bears over Buccaneers, Bengals over Falcons, Seahawks over Cardinals, Browns over Raiders, Giants over Saints, Chargers over 49ers, Steelers over Ravens, and Chiefs over Broncos. The Panthers and the Redskins are both on a bye week this week, so that's why they're not involved. Oh yeah, also random fun fact, we have 4 teams right now that are 1, 1, and 1. That's pretty crazy. But anyways, guys, as always, thank you for tuning in to The Slant, and don't forget to subscribe and click the little bell so you're notified when new videos come out. And of course, like this video. And be sure to check out my Twitter at The Slant Show NFL. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys next time on The Slant.